What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of the data points, some latest updates coming from Lucid, and especially with their earnings right around the corner on the 8th. I want to give you a good overview of what analysts are doing last minute. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So pre-market, it is up 0.54%. And I think this is now a little bit more of a calming in the market, especially that the Fed's raised it to 25 basis points. And Powell was not panicking for the most part. He kind of just said that he's going to be kind of watching the data and increasing in the future if needed. So in reality, kind of came in line with people's expectations. So I do feel that a lot of the stocks and growth stocks such as Lucid have the green light now to trend up, in theory, if justified, of course. But when it comes to it, there has been no official press releases lately. There was one SEC filing, and it wasn't too much, nothing crazy, but I would have assumed it would have went up a little bit higher. And this is for the most part December 2021, so a long time ago. And this is where, for instance, the SEC subpoenaed Lucid and kind of started a little bit more of a tentative investigation in them. And it does say that as of April 27, 2023, SEC staff informed the company that they have concluded the investigation and that they do not intend to recommend an enforcement action by the SEC against the company. So of course, that is pretty good. I would have assumed it would have been a little bit sooner than that because I've done quite a few videos on that. I would have assumed it would have came around the December 2022 time period. But regardless though, I feel that this alone should have caused Lucid to go up because back in the day on December the 3rd, 2023, when this news did come out, it caused the stock price to go down 15%. So a little bit more of an overreaction, and normally with it being quashed now, you would have assumed it would have went up, but that wasn't necessarily the case. So it kind of does suck in that regard. And as far as the latest round of 13Fs, you do see a lot of institutions still getting into Lucid, more specifically Tobin. I've never heard of them particularly, but they do have 1.2 million shares of Lucid, and they increased to 86% in Q1. So you do see a lot of institutions increasing their position. And like I said, going into, I think, tail end, so maybe tomorrow or potentially early next week, this is where you're going to see a lot of the big names that are in Lucid, such as the PIF, Vanguard, and BlackRock, and various other ones as well. But definitely will be very interesting to see, for instance, even Morgan Stanley as well, to see exactly what they are doing, because when it comes down to, for instance, Morgan Stanley, they're one of the only ones to still continuously give a very low rating. So there is good old Morgan Stanley. Adam Jonas on January 25th gave a $5 rating. So they're still very much bearish. A lot of other optimistic analysts still look at Lucid, but just Adam Jonas has a little bit more of a vendetta against Lucid. But despite that, quarter over quarter, Morgan Stanley increases their position in Lucid. So it's kind of a little bit more of a backwards thing. But once again, this is the stock market. This is the fun part of that. But while I'm on Interactive Brokers, I did want to talk on briefly about the upcoming Q1 earnings that is coming out. As you can see, Q1 2023, May the 8th, and it is at 4:30 Central. So I'm going to be live streaming that, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. But I want to give you a quick review last minute on potentially what to expect coming from the upcoming earnings. So in case you guys do not know, there's going to be several different things that people care about: earnings per share, revenue, future guidance. What is kind of Lucid's viewpoint on the future? Are they a little bit more hawkish? Are they going to be reducing costs and things like that, which clearly I think they have. They're going to signal because they did do a little bit more of a tentative layoff. It was at the beginning of Q2, so they'll probably talk on it, but it won't be really encumbered in their Q1 earnings, so just kind of be aware of that. Earnings per share. So when you can see right here, it looks like 3 analysts recently jumped on board, but earnings per share did go down, so negative 41 cents versus the previous estimate was negative 39. So some analysts, more specifically 3, got on board but are a little bit more bearish. So when it comes to earnings per share, clearly they did signal already in the Q4 earnings, the transcripts. It does signal in here by, obviously I think it was Sherry at the time, that did say that the margins are going to be a little bit more reduced in Q1. So clearly they've already anticipated that, and when it comes down to it, it is what it is. That's how we are and where we are at this stage. But like I said, when it comes down to, for instance, what to expect, clearly analysts are kind of keeping in line with what Sherry and Peter are assuming. So earnings per share is going to be down, largely because of a lot of higher expenses and so forth. But oddly enough, last minute, it does look like roughly around 5 analysts got on board, but at the time there was an average of 204.32 million for the estimates, but now it is 209.88. So a little bit more of a tentative increase. So some analysts got on board and are very optimistic for the revenue. So that is kind of positive. So again, 2 different viewpoints. Keep in mind this upcoming earnings, they are not going to be talking on reservation numbers. They have since quashed that. They're not going to be doing that. But there's obviously different ways to kind of indicate that. You can always take a look at, for instance, their financials, and it's going to clearly resemble, and if you do the basic math, on how many reservations they do have. But again, I think that's a little bit more of an overkill at this stage. So let me know you guys' thoughts on, for instance, the upcoming earnings. Are you optimistic? Are you bullish, bearish? Are you hedging with, for instance, options? So what have you been doing? As far as options based on yesterday, you do see a lot more call options being purchased. So $1.07 million in call options versus 706 in put premiums. So definitely a little bit more optimism that's been coming out as of late. And of course, when it comes down to big money, I like to see what exactly they are doing. And these are all the transactions that did occur yesterday on the secondary market. There was one big one yesterday, 6.49 million, and even the day prior 5.64, 1.17, and the day before that was 4.65 or 4.56. So definitely something to really watch for. I'll give you guys a quick overview of shorts and what they are doing. So short score is currently 92, so that's been going up a little bit. Utilization is at 100%, and as far as what shorts are doing pre-market, they're doing absolutely nothing. But there is 145.65 million shares overall being shorted, and that works out to be 22.72% of the free float. So relatively high if you want to consider it that way. Looking at stochastic, it is at 41. There is a nice deviation, so a black line above the red. So underlying bullish sentiment, which is probably why it's giving it justification for it to trend higher in reality. Number of retail investors are getting back into Lucid, so clearly they liked, for instance, Powell's meeting and are very optimistic. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. As far as the technicals, I do see it going to be trying to retest that central boiling band today. So most likely, with everything going right, it should be able to trend higher. And when it comes down to, for instance, the next really big resistance that you need to watch for, it most likely is going to be that 50-day moving average that Lucid has always really struggled with, as you can see, to get past. And unfortunately, in Lucid's case, what typically does happen, it bounces off of that very big resistance and trends down and usually does more damage than good. But as you can see right here, I do feel that given the circumstances and now what Powell has said, there is good justification for it to potentially trend higher. And like I said, earnings are right around the corner, so that might be some surpriseness of that. And I still do feel, I know it's coming down to the wire, I've said it quite a lot, but I still do feel that they're going to do some PR about the gravity right before the earnings. That way they can use that as a talking point. But once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out in the comments as well if you have been buying, selling, holding, what you have been doing. Give yourself a shout out. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of free promos such as Moo, link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account, you get 1 free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so it is a complete no-brainer. So let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.